In this video, I'm going to show you the 7 lessons I've learned in my 5 years of running an online business. So please keep watching. So if you don't know me, my name is Nathan Gotch, and I'm the founder of Gotch SEO. And Gotch SEO is just an SEO training company and a white label services company. And so I started Gotch SEO back in 2013, and I am now in my 5th year of running my company. And so in the last 5 years, I've learned a ton. And I definitely won't be able to explain every single thing that I've learned, but I've narrowed down the list of things that I've learned to a few really important ideas. And so I'm going to give you 7 of the most important things that I've learned. And I hope that these are going to help you avoid a lot of the mistakes that I've made in this journey. So let me start off with a very important disclaimer. I am only 28 years old. I've only been in business for a little over 4 years. I'm currently in my 5th year. So there are people that have had way more experience than I have. There are people that have achieved higher levels of success than I have. And so I don't want you to believe that I know everything there is to know, because I do not. And I have a very long journey ahead of me where I have to learn even more. But I have been operating a business for almost 5 years. So I have learned a few things, and I know that you can definitely learn from a lot of my mistakes and a lot of the things that I've encountered along this journey. And that's all I'm trying to do. I just want to help you not make the same mistakes that I have, and most importantly, help you achieve better results than I have. So the first business lesson that I really want to cover, and this might be the most important one, is you just have to understand that entrepreneurship is really, really hard. And I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but it is very, very hard. And anyone that wants to jump into entrepreneurship, it is the absolute greatest thing on earth when you start getting results, because you're able to do what you want. You're able to do what you love. And when I tell people about my business and they ask me, why do you work so much? Why do you do this so much? And my answer is the same every time. I just tell them because I actually enjoy it. Running my business isn't like going to a 9-to-5 job. It's something I get excited about doing every single day. And that's the value of entrepreneurship, because you are in control of your destiny and you're in control of your success ultimately. And that makes you feel empowered, and that makes you feel just so incredible. But the downside of having that type of freedom and having the audacity to try to live that way, unlike the majority of other people, is it's really, really hard. And it's hard to run a business. It's hard to sell products. It's hard to market products. It's hard in every single category in business. And so you just have to be willing to accept that it is going to be hard. And anyone that tries to make you believe that business is easy, they are simply not telling the truth, because they're not showing you what they're doing behind the scenes. They're just showing you all of the success. They're not showing you the 80% of the failures that they've probably had. And in fact, anyone that has achieved any level of success in business, I guarantee they've had a long list of failures that they don't tell you about. And so that is kind of the issue with the internet, is that you only see the success that people have. And so the first business lesson is that you just need to understand that it's going to be hard, and just go in knowing it. This is going to be hard. And you just got to battle through it, and it's not going to be easy. And there are going to be times where you're going to be like, man, I just don't know if I can continue to do this. And you're going to feel on top of the world at one point, and then 2 days later, you're going to be in the pits. And if you can't handle the roller coaster, you're going to have a very, very hard time. And the one thing that I've learned that helped me so much as far as dealing with how hard it actually is that I try to separate my business from my personal feelings, essentially. So anything that happens in my business, I just look at it as, okay, this is what's happening in my business. It doesn't affect me personally. So for example, if a client decides to no longer work with my company, sure, I could be offended on the personal level. I could be so mad that, what are they thinking? Why would they not want to work with us? But of course, that wouldn't bring any value to my business. So I have to handle it professionally and just say, you know what? what did I do wrong in this situation, and what can I do better in the future to prevent this from happening? And that's all you can do. You can just make small incremental changes as you're going along, and that's really all you can do in your company, is just constantly try to get better. And so, as I said, number one lesson, just go into it knowing it's going to be hard and knowing that you're going to have to put in the work. And don't get fooled by all this stuff online, on Instagram, on any social media platforms that will persuade you to believe that this process of building a company is easy. It is not easy. And I'm not here to try to fool you or try to make you believe that it's easy, because I know for a fact that it's not. And so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's easy. So that is my first lesson. Now, I'm not trying to be like, a doomsday type of guy here, but I'm just really want to tell you the truth about what you're going to be getting into, or what you're already in. And if you're already in entrepreneurship, you know it's hard. So I'm basically just preaching to the choir. So the second business lesson is that you have to understand that most of the things that you're going to do in your business are probably not going to work. And so there are going to be things that work like crazy, things that are going to surprise you how well they worked, but a lot of the time you're going to do things and they're just going to really not work at all, or they're not going to work in the way that you believed they were going to work. And that applies to pretty much anything you're going to do in your business. So for example, you may put out a blog post and you may spend an entire month creating the most epic blog post of all time, but then you publish it and a week goes by, a month goes by, 3 months go by, and that blog post just gets no traction, no engagement, and it just doesn't do what you believed it was going to do. And that comes down to a very important fact, that it doesn't matter how hard you work on something, because the only thing that matters is how the market responds to whatever you've created. And so I know it on the personal level, you're like, man, I spend so much time doing X, creating a blog post, creating this product, doing something, spending anything where you spend a ton of time on it and you put a lot of effort into it. You naturally believe that, well, because you put in all this effort and you put in all this time, that you deserve to be rewarded for it. But unfortunately, that's not the way it works in business. You only get rewarded based on what people believe is valuable. And sometimes you just don't hit the target, and that's just the nature of it. And so you just have to realize that when you put things out, don't believe that it's going to be a home run every single time. Sometimes you're going to strike out. It's just the nature of it. And excuse my baseball analogies, because I am a former baseball player, so I have a lot of baseball analogies. But it's very interesting, because in baseball, let's say you took 100 at bats against the best MLB pitcher. We'll say, I don't know, we'll say Clayton Kershaw, for example, or if we want to go back, we could say Randy Johnson. So if you took 100 at bats, there's a very good chance, if you have no experience in baseball, that you would probably almost never make contact with a single pitch if they're actually trying. But if you continue to practice, and maybe after the 1,000th at bat, you may finally make contact, that is showing you that now there is the possibility that you can succeed. And slowly you just get better and better, and eventually you'll be hitting base hits, eventually you'll be hitting home runs. But as time goes on, you start to see what doesn't work, and you get better, and you get better, and you get better, and you get better, and you get more effective, and you're able to get results on certain elements of your business faster, and you just become more effective. But when you're starting out, it's really, really hard to be effective, because you just don't know what works. You haven't built those connections in your mind to know what actually works in your particular business. And so my second business lesson is that you have to understand that most of the things you're going to do are probably not going to work in the beginning, but you will get better over time, and you'll stop making as many mistakes, and you'll strike out a lot less. And that brings me to my third business lesson, which is very closely related, which is action will almost always win in business. And so, to be totally honest, right behind this camera, I have a huge shelf of books, and I read a ton. I really love reading. I love getting information from people who've already had experience in things that I haven't, or they have just more experience than me in general. That's the value that a book can add to your life and your business. But the truth is, every single big success that I've had in my business has been the result of me taking action. And there is just no better way to learn than to actually get your hands dirty and try to figure it out yourself and learn from your mistakes. And that is just simply the best way to learn, just through action. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't get that base of knowledge. It's very important to get a base of knowledge, but it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have. It only matters what you do with the knowledge that you get. And so, for example, a lot of the people who join my training course, Gotch SEO Academy, I try to do everything I can to get them to take action on the information that I've given them, because I know if they do take action, it can be a game changer for the business and their life. And so I want them to take action on it because I know that's the most important part. Of course, anyone can join a course, anyone can get a book, anyone can get information, but it's how you actually apply that information that's actually going to get you results in real life. And the way to do that is you just have to take action, and you have to do things that are going to be hard, things that are going to make you feel uncomfortable. Like me talking to this camera, this used to be the most uncomfortable thing ever. Like I used to shake thinking about even getting in front of a camera, but now, it's not that bad. I still feel a little nervous. I feel sometimes like I can't formulate my thoughts, but over time, the more you do these uncomfortable things, the better you're going to get. And so that's what it comes down to. And the only way you're ever going to get better at anything is you have to actually take action. So, back to a baseball analogy, you could have two people, one person who never goes up to the plate and bats, and one person who goes up and strikes out 1,000 times. But eventually this person who's gone up is eventually going to make contact, and he's eventually going to get better. This person, they'll never get better because they never actually stepped into the box. They never actually stepped into the arena. And so you have to actually take action. You have to actually take steps to get to where you want to go. And so if you take anything out of this, I would say that number 3 business lesson that I've learned personally, every time I've taken actions and done things that are uncomfortable, it's led to really, really great results in my business. So the 4th business lesson that I've learned is that people's success, that could be people's success in your industry, that could be your family member's success, that could be anyone's success, it doesn't matter. Like, it literally does not matter any other person's success other than your own, because success is relative, okay? Because you choose what you define to be as success. So for example, success is nothing more than you setting a goal, taking those actions that will lead to success in that goal. That's success. Just taking those actions is success. And on a more micro level, success is generally just going to be you setting a goal and achieving it. And it's all that matters to you. It's not what anyone else has done or you comparing yourself against other people. That stuff does not matter, and is absolutely the most toxic thing that you can do for your mind, is to try to compare yourself to other people and their circumstances. So when it comes down to it, some other people may be smarter than you, they may have more resources than you, they may have more connections than you. You don't know every person's circumstance, and it doesn't matter, because all you can control is your circumstance and how you define what success is. So to give you an example, when I first got started in 2013, in fact, when I started in 2012, when I was still in college, my number one goal was to never have to worry about paying my bills again. And that's kind of a deep-seated goal, because when I grew up with a single mother, and she was really honestly worried about paying bills a lot of the time. And that was a very stressful environment, because not knowing if you're going to be able to pay your next bill is a pretty scary thing. And so from a very young age, that's something that I never wanted to have to experience in my life, because I witnessed it firsthand and I did not want to experience that. So that was my goal. When I started trying to figure out this whole online thing, trying to make money online, the one goal I had was to never have to worry about paying my bills again. And fortunately, I've achieved that goal. But to me, that's success for me, because I achieved a goal that I set. It's not necessarily that, you should be making more money than people, you should have better things than people. None of that stuff is success. Success is what you define it as. And so you have to figure out what success is for yourself, and then that's all that matters. And you just grind every single day until you get those goals, or at least continue to take those actions that could lead to whatever goal you have. And if you're not hitting your goals on a consistent basis and you're missing them most of the time, then maybe you need to re-examine your goals, and you need to either make them easier or maybe make them harder if you're achieving them too easily. So you just have to figure out what success is for you personally, and that's all that matters. Never ever compare yourself to other people. It does not do anything positive for you in your situation, because no one is living in your situation. No one will ever walk a day in your shoes. And so all that matters is what you're doing and the success that you're achieving in your own individual experience. My fifth business lesson for you is to focus on other people's lives and improving their lives and trying to make a difference, because that's what business is all about. It's not, you don't get into business just because you want to make money, because that is honestly the worst motive that you can have. And certainly there are many people throughout history that have gone in with that motive and made a lot of money. There's no doubt about that. But the businesses that stay around for a long time, the people that have impact for a long time, are the people that actually take people from point A to point Z, and in between they make their lives better in one way or another. And sometimes those changes are not this middle ground. It can be smaller, it can be larger. You know, sometimes it's hard to take someone from point A to point Z if the problem is bigger, but if the problem is smaller, there's a smaller gap. But the main point is that business is much easier when you focus on helping people achieve something as opposed to selling your product, because people don't buy products. People buy solutions to their problems. So once you understand that, and you understand that your job as a business, basically on all sides of your business, including marketing, the actual product, everything, your goal is to help your prospects achieve a particular goal. And if you focus on them and you focus on helping them, and all of your thought and all of your effort is on trying to help them achieve that goal, you are going to be very successful. And it's crazy what happens when you change your mindset to, I need to make money, I need to make money, I need to make sales, to, I'm just going to do my best to help my prospects achieve their goal. And I'm going to market my product because I know that if they use my product, it's going to help them achieve that goal. And it just changes everything when you shift your mindset to that, as opposed to worrying about, you know, how am I going to make $3 million this year, or how am I going to make X, or just when you take it off of the actual financial element, you focus more on what your product is actually designed to do, then it changes really everything. So my sixth business lesson is that you need to focus. And I know this is super hard when you're starting out, because there are so many things that you can do in your business, but that doesn't mean that you should do them. And so the good news is that it's really easy to focus, because all you need to do is pick something very specific to focus on, such as a specific marketing channel, a specific product, and it's just better to focus, because when you try to spread your resources and spread your time and even just spread your mind across all of these different things that you can do, you're just not going to get a lot done, and you're going to move at a snail's pace. And so to give you an example, when I started out, I focused purely on SEO. Like, I didn't try to be a Facebook ad master. I didn't try to be an email marketing master. I just focused purely on getting good at SEO, and that was my only focus. And that really was a good decision on my part, because that ended up being something I got very good at, because I just made that my focus. And so the same goes for your products. I mean, it's better to have 2 or 3 really amazing products than it is to have hundreds of products that are subpar. So focus is always going to be better. And if you look at a lot of the great companies, they focus, and they focus in their marketing department, they focus with their product department, they focus in their operational department. So focus is the best, and you just need to totally avoid shiny object syndrome, because that is a deadly thing to be doing, jumping from one thing to the next, trying to see if you can make this work or make this work, when in reality you should just focus on one thing, put all your effort into it, and you're going to inevitably get better at it, and your business is going to benefit from that. So that is my 6th business lesson. Please just focus and don't get distracted by all of the noise and all of the things that you could possibly do. It will really harm your progress in the beginning, and even really when you're deeper into your business cycles. All right, so now my 7th and final business lesson is very simple. You just have to try to get better every single day. And that's the one thing that I've really tried to do in my business, is I just try to do everything I can to get better. And so what does that mean? That means reading new books. That means joining new courses. That means actually taking action and learning through experience. So when you start to combine all those things together, you start to get better, and you start to get better at a very rapid rate. And so you just have to make the commitment that you're going to get better. And I'm telling you, the best way to get better is, number one, get base knowledge. So that may require you to buy a book, or that may require you to join a course. And so the differences between books and courses are pretty substantial. A book will give you base information, but it's not usually going to give you the actionable over-the-shoulder stuff that you need to really be successful. So a book is a good foundational element, but then courses are even better, because then you get to actually see step by step how something is done. And that's really, really great. And so I can't tell you the amount of times that I've joined a course and taken action on it and seen tons of results. And I was so grateful that I invested that money into the course. And to give you an example, I invested in a Facebook ad course, and that was the best thing I ever did, because all that time before I was trying to figure it out myself, and I was getting decent results. But as soon as I joined that course, I just totally took like 1,000 steps ahead, because I got all the information I needed. I got it exactly what I needed to be successful in that particular skill, and it just accelerated my skills. And so definitely recommend that you invest in good courses. And of course, I'm naturally biased because I sell an SEO training course, but I can't tell you the amount of people that are so excited after they go through my course and they start taking action on that stuff and they start getting results. They realize, like, man, why didn't I just do this before? And I've had that feeling countless times. And every time I buy a good course, I'm like, man, why was I trying to figure out myself when I could have literally just taken this course and invested money so that I can then just get better faster? And that's really the benefit of a course. So then after that, though, you got your book, you got your course, then you need to take action on what you learn. And as I've mentioned before, action is what's going to really drive your results forward and really help you build those connections in your mind that are going to last a lifetime, because you're going to really, it's hard not to get smarter when you're just actually learning from your mistakes. And you just completely build all these connections in your mind, and you just get smarter every single time. Every single time you make a mistake, every single time you actually take a step forward, you just usually won't make the same mistake again. Sometimes you do. I've made many mistakes multiple times, but eventually you're like, okay, now I know not to do that. Or you just continue to learn over and over. And eventually those connections that you build through experience honestly will last a lifetime. And so that is my little 3-step approach. Get base knowledge, usually take a course so that you can see step by step how to do something. And then most importantly, about 80% of your time should be spent actually doing whatever you've learned. And so those are my 7 business lessons that I've learned in the last 5 or so years of being in business. And like I said, there are many other things that I've learned, but I tried to narrow it down to the ones that I, first of all, could think of, and second of all, the ones that I felt are most important for you and your journey and wherever you might be. And who knows, you may be more successful than I am. Doesn't really matter, because as I said before, my success is my success and your success is your success. So that is all for this video. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can get notified when I publish something new. And if you really liked it, you could share it on any social media platform that you want. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.